Wargamers, yesterday we talked about things that players can do to be prepared for a tournament. Well, today I want to kind of flip that over and look at things that, as a player, I think make for a good tournament, and things that I think tournament organizers should consider when starting to organize RTTs or small local tournaments at their friendly local gaming store. We're not going to be talking about things like running national GTs. That's a whole different ball game. But if you are just considering starting a tournament at your local store, here's some things you should consider. Before we get to that though, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and that way you don't miss any of my upcoming 8th edition content. Alright, so what should you do when you start off planning a tournament? Now keep in mind this is just my thoughts as a participant in any tournaments. I have had a relatively minor role in organizing tournaments, but never have led my own, so take everything with a grain of salt. But here's just some ideas. One, plan your event at least 2 months in advance. You can get away with 1 month if you're planning on having it be a relatively small scale thing with just your local group, but having 2 months gives you plenty of time to secure a venue, make adjustments, and more importantly, it gives people time to plan around the event. Select a venue that works well for people in terms of its location and also its ability to actually support a tournament. There are plenty of friendly local gaming stores that are really nice stores but just don't have the space or the capacity to support a 40K tournament, and that's okay. But if you're organizing a tournament at your local store, try to think about how much space you actually have for tables, how much terrain you have, and how much space you have for people to move around and actually not be squished into the space like sardines. You can get away with the sardine thing a couple of times, but it's not going to be a strategy for long-term success of that tournament if you want to run it multiple times, either month after month or year after year, anything like that. Additionally, make all of the details of your tournament available online. This is a huge thing for me. I think if you don't do this, you're going to be ruffling a lot of feathers, and you're just setting yourself up for a bad time, because people are going to want to know what to expect, and if you don't post it online, it's going to be anybody's guess. So post all the details online, whether that's a Facebook group or a website or something. Just have it all posted online, and that way there are no questions. It's all out there, clear as day, what the deal is. So what details are important? Well, obviously like the date, the time, stuff like that, the registration fee, what that's going to be, the format, whether it's ITC or not, the point limit, the restrictions on the number and types of detachments that you can take. So if you're limiting it to 3 detachments, that's fine, or 3 detachments with each detachment being unique, whatever. Just make that explicit. Whether or not you're allowing Forge World, make that explicit. The painting requirement, a lot of places have a 3 painting minimum. That's cool, that's all you got to say, but also include whether or not you're going to be judging painting. A lot of people will want to know if you're actually judging painting, because then they'll put different amounts of effort into their models, or bring different things. So make that clear. And probably most importantly, put the missions online. Whether you're going to be using ITC missions or your own homebrew missions or just missions out of the book, make that explicit and make it clear. If you're doing ITC, that's super easy. All you got to do is link to the ITC page, not a problem. If you are making your homebrew missions, have those up ahead of time, at least a few weeks ahead of time, so that people can actually look at the missions and tweak their lists. Or if you're using book missions, that's all you got to say too, is just that we're using the book missions. But whatever you do, make it clear about what the missions are, because that has a huge bearing on the list that people are going to bring, and it just kind of goes into that whole idea of making sure that your players are informed and up to date. When it comes to actually getting people in the store, you need to charge some sort of registration fee in most cases. That's what you're going to use to either bring revenue into the store if you're a store owner and TO you want to do that to bring some revenue in the store, that's fine. But give people options in terms of how they can actually use or how they can actually fulfill that buy-in, whether it's, sure, it's a $10 cash buy-in, but if you want, you can do a store credit instead, something like that. I think that works out really nice. So I know I personally would prefer to spend like twice as much on a store credit and still be able to play in the tournament than just pay money and then lose it. So giving people the option to buy in with a store credit is nice. I like that. Consider your food options. So if you're hosting a tournament and there are no good lunch options around you, consider that. Maybe order pizza in for everyone using your registration fees, and of course adjust registration fees accordingly. But consider whether or not people are going to have time to go get lunch, if lunch is going to be nearby and accessible, and if it's any good at all. So consider what you're going to actually feed people, if they're going to be responsible for it themselves or not. Start and this is another huge one for me. Start and stay on schedule. So that means a few things. One, you have to actually set realistic expectations for when you're going to start the tournament, when you're going to end it, the amount of time that you're going to spend on each round, and the amount of time it's going to take you to transition between games. Have that all set up ahead of time. Have a schedule, again, posted online so people know what to expect. And start and stay on that schedule. If people want to keep playing, tell them, I'm sorry, we gotta move on. We can't have everyone else wait for you to finish your game. This is the rules, and this is how we're playing it. So set a schedule and stay with it. That's a huge pet peeve of mine, is when we end up getting like 45 minutes behind schedule on a 3-round tournament that each game is only a little bit over 2 hours. 45 minutes is a huge loss of time. So stay on schedule as best as you can. And I know sometimes it's hard, but just do your best. Right. One thing you can do to help with that is to actually test your pairing software ahead of time. Best Coast Pairings works really well. So if you're familiar with Best Coast Pairings, you can have people register ahead of time and get in Best Coast Pairings. It will do all the pairings for you, so that's really nice. But make sure whatever you're doing that you have it figured out ahead of time, and you're not sitting there during the transitory period just trying to figure out who should be paired with who. Have something automated, have something smooth, and don't waste people's time with dealing with hiccups in the software or poor planning on your part. Have it figured out ahead of time and make sure it works, please. Provide, again, another huge one. Provide the packets for the missions ahead of time. Have it on the website, but also when players show up to the tournament, have those packets ready. Have packets with all the missions set up in them. Have the turn order. Have the setup procedure. Do you set up terrain? Do you not set up terrain? Do you set objectives? Do you not set objectives? Who does that first, or who does it second? And how all that is determined. Have it explicitly stated in the mission packet, and have those printed off and ready to go. Have the scoring cards included in that. Again, if you're doing ITC, this is all done for you already. Super easy. All you have to do is print it out. But make sure you have the right number of copies. Do your best to maximize prize support. Again, if you're a store owner or manager or something, you want to bring people into your store, that's fine. A lot of times, your registration fees are going to help pay for the space or whatever. But as best as you can, try to use that money to go back to the players. They'll appreciate it. It will build confidence in the tournament, and people will have a better time. So yeah. Second to last, listen to your audience. Listen to what they like and what they don't like. If you're coming up with homebrew missions and they don't like them, change the missions. This is one thing that ITC actually does fairly well. They come up with ideas of directions they want to go, and then they do a poll and they follow what the poll says, even if it's not quite what they originally wanted to do. So if you're listening to your audience will be happy, and you'll have a better event in the end because you're providing a experience that people have asked for and not one that you're forcing on them. So that's good. Please do that. And finally, most importantly, be consistent. Don't be inconsistent. Basically, if you make a ruling, stick with it. Keep that being consistent throughout the entire tournament, throughout the entire preparatory phase. Don't be wishy-washy on army composition, on rules, or on FAQs, anything like that. Be transparent and be consistent, because there's nothing worse than trying to get into a tournament or being at a tournament and feeling like you're getting jerked around. So being consistent is super important. And I think you know, as a player, if I go to a tournament and they do all these things, I'm going to have a good time. If they don't do all these things, I can still have a good time, but it's harder, right? Because you get all these other things going on that you have to deal with, and it's, you know, a bigger mountain to climb to have a good time. Make it easy for your participants to have a good time. Do these things, please, and I think it will work out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If there's other things you'd add to this list, it would be great. I'm doing this not to, you know, like go on a rant or anything, but trying to provide a resource so that people that want to start organizing tournaments have a resource of things that they should consider. And hopefully I've, you know, sparked some of that internal dialogue with this video. So, like I said, please contribute your own thoughts in the comments below, and of course, happy wargaming.